show you a mini presentation that I've been working on, and you're going to see basically anything that's moving is going to be used morph to make this move. So I'm planning to use this presentation when I'm visiting America next month. What do we think of this?
This is awesome. You can also, if you want, you can click the hide, which will hide the.
Yeah, let me do that.
Yeah, but this looks great.
And it's just so simple to design. The most difficult part was deciding how to make it morph. But really, once you get into it, can you see this is just, and if you look at this one here, you won't see it happening. But I put the mortar board in the bottom left-hand corner. So when I press it, I now say to the audience, now we're going to go to the advanced section of what we're doing.
Really awesome.
It looks very Prezi-like, where it seems to be zooming in and out of different topics.
Yeah.
I've not used Prezi before, but I can tell you I had so much fun thinking, how can I make this presentation but not use bullet points? That was my goal. Then I come to this slide, which will completely confuse people. And then I use Morph to offer them a free webinar.
That was great. Funny as well.
That's super cool.
Does everyone get it?
Yeah,
so the next thing I'm going to do is show you different items in PowerPoint we can use. And essentially the way I've done this is I've just gone to insert and I've gone to most of these items and I've just used morph to test it out. Is it okay if I just go through it? Or do you want to see the slide background as to what I've done? Or can I just show you what I've done and you can stop me if you'd like to know more? So 3, 4, 1, I think it was. There we are. Okay, slide number 1. Slide number 2. Number 1, and it's just rotated. This is changing the color of your object. This one, I just added a photograph to the screen, added a special effect. Then on the second slide, I gave you the original picture, which is quite emotional if you get it right. This is the mystery morph. You try and say to the audience, what's going on here? Or let's think about this. And then you click on it and it takes you to what you want to show them. Or you could do it the other way around. You could show them the large image and say, we're looking for somebody who's committed a crime. And it adds that element to it as well. Here we are at school, but do you know how difficult loneliness can be? Or maybe I should have made the rest of it black and white and made him black and white and made the rest of them in color. So this one, I literally put the rectangle on the side of slide number 1. Slide number 2, it's just in the middle of the slide and it brings it in. 3D models is crazy because look at this. There she is on slide number 1. She's having a lie down now. And she's getting up now. And she's standing on top of my logo. This is an animated 3D model. And I've just used morph to move this person around. This one is really, I love this one.
So it's just taking the 3D object and changing the orientation.
That's all it was. But because it's an
Wow.
aeroplane, it comes across much more effectively than if it was a shoe or an object. The fact it's an aeroplane just makes it work so much better than, although these ones work really well
Yeah.
as well. These work great. But if you choose the wrong model, it's just going to be something moving without any purpose. So now we can use words as well. And I will go through the menu with you. But I've made the words small. Now I've made the words large. Now I've changed the font of the words on the second slide. This one is called using letters. So this one, I put all of the letters on the alphabet, and using letters is one of my favorite ways to morph. This one is words. I don't like this model. It will choose the whole all the words, but it doesn't work as well for me as letters. This is a 3D object in PowerPoint, and then I changed it back to, it's still a 3D object. I just changed the angle around to add some excitement there. Now we are going to run into a problem. If I try and morph from a circle to a square, it will not work because PowerPoint sees them as two separate objects. So what I'm going to need to do is bring up the selection pane under shape format, and I need to put 2 exclamation marks in and give it a name. So I'm going to call it shape. Then go to the second object and do the same thing. 2 exclamation marks, call it a shape. They have to be the same name with 2 exclamation marks. And can you see we've now reprogrammed it so I can make 2 different shapes morph as well. I've got a relative. What's that?
That's cool. I hadn't thought of that, you know, the different shapes being different object types or, you know, object names.
That takes it to another level.
Yeah.
I've got a relatively boring table here, but then I use morph. And can you see that makes the excitement of the top month much more interesting? I've got an icon in PowerPoint, so I can just move the icon and change the color as well. This one, I used the exclamation mark. It didn't work as well, but it is using the exclamation mark. Changing a man into a lion didn't work well, but I tried. This one is using merge shapes. Do people know about merge shapes?
I think I played around with that. It's kind of like grouping, right? Where you take like a line and a circle.
So I'm going to go in, put in a shape. There's my shape there. Then I'm going to go back in, draw another shape. But then I have to select both shapes. And there's your menu, merge shapes. So I've done that. But with this one, I put the exclamation mark in front of it so that it now morphs into a star. And if you get that right, it is extraordinary. Look at that. Isn't that quite beautiful? I've got a cartoon in PowerPoint, and I've just changed the shirt, and I've made him smile now. Going back, there's a feature called Cameo. So it says camera in use by another app. So I think I need to turn off my camera. Stop the cam. So if you go to insert, the button I'm using now is called Cameo. Click on here. And I think it won't let me do it because it still thinks. Can I refresh this page and see if that works?
Yeah, you might, if you refresh the browser page, you might get kicked out. but you should come right back.
Let me open up a new presentation then.
Okay.
File, new, Cameo, present. Oh, it still thinks I'm in use. Well, it's really hard to show you without turning the camera off and messing things up. But essentially, all of these, let me show you another presentation. No, it won't work because it won't let me use the camera. But the idea with this one is I would appear here on the side. I would appear here, and I used morph to make every time I go from one slide to the next, it would morph me from one slide to the next. My friends, that is PowerPoint Morph. And is there any questions you have for me around Morph?
Where did you come up with all the ideas for this, Paul?
I literally went to the insert menu, added every object I could to see if it would morph.
Okay.
And that's literally, I just went in there and thought, a table is relatively boring. But if you make it plain on slide number 1 and then zoom in and change the color, you're creating some excitement. So I literally went to every object and just pressed morph. So for example, when I went from one shape to the next, it didn't work. So I just did some research and found out that the exclamation mark will make it work for me. I then went into merge shapes just to see if it would work. I then changed the angle of shapes, and it's literally just testing it. But the other way to do it is I will not use bullet points in my presentation. Then you have to sit there and think, how am I going to get my message across without using bullet points? And that makes it much more fun because then you have to use morph. And when I had the presentation, if I can just present one more time, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Entire screen. When the organization gave me this slide, that was the original slide they gave me. Nothing else. But when you break it apart, that's what was happening in the background. So I thought about it and thought, wouldn't it be kind of cool to start off with this in the corner? And then when I played around with it, I thought, you know what? This is really interesting because with this presentation, I'm putting in the corner what the section is, which is this is Microsoft Search. So this is a little reminder during the session what I'm covering. And then we go through, it changes to conditional formatting. Then filtering. So yeah, it's just a lot of fun, but saying I cannot use bullet points made me more creative.
That's awesome.
Thank you. That's it.
Yeah. Welcome, Lance.
Yeah, that's creative. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, yeah. But how did you take the time to sit down and the patient to just to other? I know it took a lot of time to do that.
It's literally telling myself I am not allowed to use bullet points. That's the starting point. Because doing a presentation is easy with bullets.
Mhm.
Open the slide, put the heading in, and you use bullets. Very easy. I decided for my presentation in America, I will not use bullet points.
Wow.
But because I'm known doing Microsoft, I'm also trying to tell the audience, by the way, I'm really good with PowerPoint. You might want to talk about PowerPoint without saying it. So I'm not going to say to the audience, look at this great presentation. I'm just going to start the presentation and they're going to be like, how did he do that? And the most difficult part is I've got a message on my screen. How can I use morph to get that message across? It makes you think about presentations and possibly PowerPoint in a completely different way, because you're thinking, and it's not showing off, because when you see the first presentation with the blue triangle, it's not flashy. It just gets the message across very clearly. So I love doing it. I don't like PowerPoint that much, but I loved doing that presentation.
That's so cool.
I even use, before it comes onto the slide, I'll change the color to black and white. So that by the time it lands where I want it to, it's going to be more dramatic than if it came in on color. That's something I learned from doing the presentation.
That's neat.
I loved it. Bit nervous presenting in front of you guys, but
this is exactly what we're looking for on Journey to the Cloud, Paul, is just different voices and different expertise. And we are a day away from International Women's Day. So we invited several of our community members that were female to today's show. And it looks like we've had a influx of men, opposed to women here, but that's because it's a day before, right?
They're getting ready.
I'm sure we all have women in our lives that we could celebrate. Solomon, welcome. Lance, Pratap, Frank, all the way from Cork, Ireland. We've got several time zones represented today as well.
So Lance is in the US, is it then?
Yep. I'm in the Chicago suburbs, so central time zone. And I'm nowhere near as creative as Paul here, but I'm going to see if I can show one thing that I've learned with PowerPoint on the Mac computers. And that is, I can find the right window here, present, screen share. That Mac computers, for some reason, don't consider the camera object as something that is locked when you're on different slides. So, Paul, the struggle you had with setting up the camera, when you're on a Mac, you can use the camera object in multiple applications. So I have it used in, right now, StreamYard. I could open up Microsoft Teams and use it there. I could use it within the presentation that I've opened here. And the nice thing about the Cameo objects are you can use multiple. I realized that. I haven't really thought of the use case, maybe for showing that you could have multiple, speakers or multiple people in a use or in a slide. So if I go to Cameo here 3 times, I can decide where I am and how large the object is. And then, Paul, I believe all you did was you just highlight the slides or individual, and then you go into transitions, right?
I'd go to morph and then apply to all. I don't know if you've got that button here. Maybe not. Yeah, apply to all on the far right. You've got apply to all.
Okay.
Top right. Top right. So go furthest to the right underneath share. That's it. Apply to all.
Got it.
Further to the, that's it.
Cool.
And sometimes we'll do it for the whole show. If it doesn't, the way I would get around it is name the first item with an exclamation mark, then just copy that to all of the slides, then start making the changes, and that locks in the name of the shape. So sometimes it works, and sometimes I have to do it on my first slide and then copy it through and then make the amendments.
So Journey to the Cloud. And then to your point, if that appears different places, one of the morph choices is to...
So I'd rotate that 90 degrees to make it more fun. That's it. And put it on the side and just drag it up, and it will then morph it into, and it's just really powerful when you see it that way. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I would do that.
And then what we should be able to do here is if I share my, not sure if it'll realize that it's going into PowerPoint presentation mode. Let's see what it does here if I'm sharing the PowerPoint window.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh, it hasn't morphed for some reason.
Right. And could that go back to your point about the whether it's
with words it should do. So if we can go to transitions, and oh right, sorry, can you go to effect options, please?
Yeah, that's probably where it is. Objects versus words, right?
Characters will be, yeah. And then if you do it now, it should work. Sorry, I didn't go into the menu of all the things you can do once you. I should have gone into the menu with you guys. Oh, I didn't do that either.
Yeah.
Oh, it does. It does. When you rotate words in PowerPoint, it does move the whole object, and it rotates the. And when you see it, do you want me to show you a demonstration of it?
Yeah, sure.
So present, share screen.
I know the basics of Morph, but I certainly have not thought through what you showed, Paul. That was really, really cool. There, I'll share your screen.
Steve, where is it? There it is. So you can see the word Steve on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes and drops down. So if I do it this way, Shift and F5. Oh, that's not morphing. Let me just morph it. Transitions, morph. That's better. Okay. Oh, I don't know why it's not working with this software. It's really, really odd. Let's try again. I used this presentation this week and it worked.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not morphing now, which is quite bizarre considering it was morphing a few seconds ago. Yeah, but if you change words around, and I didn't realize this because this presentation, I stole it. I just clicked on File and New, and it's already built into the PowerPoint deck.
Oh,
so it's not mine. I stole it from Microsoft. So you can use this one and just change the master slide to your colors, and it will just be completely amazing when your audience see you morphing on one that's already made for you. So that's what I did for a presentation recently.
Excellent. Frank, I don't know if you have any topics to cover today, or if anybody else. I know we were talking about Copilot previously.
I just have some letters into Koa today, if you don't mind.
Oh, and Stephen?
Yeah. Okay, let me just share my screen.
Sure.
Yeah, so can you see my screen?
I can bring it up, Frank.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, okay. So what can you see? This is the PowerPoint, yeah?
Just PowerPoint, yep.
Okay, yeah. So quickly, I just want to share like the difference between Microsoft 365 groups in an admin center versus the Entra admin center. So the difference, yeah. So I think I was reading, I just come across something like this, and which what I came across is I saw the difference that when you create a if you create a Microsoft 365 account, group in admin center, you have the opportunity to choose either you want it to be private or public. But by default, when you create that in the Entra, so it by default is on private, and on there you can't actually change it to either you want to put it back to public or private. So you have to go back to unless you go back to the admin, and then you can now change it. So that's what I just want to show. If you look at it now, it said Microsoft 365 group allow you to set up a collection of resources to share, including a share mailbox and calendar, a SharePoint site with a OneNote and a Microsoft Planner, among others. It's used to collaborate among your team when writing documents, creating spreadsheets, working on projects, planning, schedule meeting. Yeah, Microsoft Teams can also be included when you're creating this group. So if you look at it here on my slide, I said Microsoft 365 group can be formed through either the Microsoft 365 Admin Center or the Microsoft Intra Admin Center. Now, I say it is important to note that when creating the Microsoft 365 account in Microsoft Entra Admin Center, the group will automatically be set as private, just like what I said. So it will be set as private, and there is no flexibility to change this group at a later time, which you cannot change it. That is in Microsoft Entra Admin. So on the other hand, if you utilize the Microsoft 365 Admin Center for group creation, you will have the choice to designate the group as a private or public during the initial setup. So quickly, let me just open my admin. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this is my admin center. Yeah, this is my admin center. So if you come up here, you click on active group. Here you have teams and group. Click on this. So if I click on this, add a Microsoft 365 group. So I click on this, and let me just give it the name. To say journey to cloud. And if I click on next, here assign an owner to it. Just give myself. Yep, assign owners, and then you click on next. So here you can assign members if you want to, and I will come back to that later. Then here, just give it a name, Jolly. Now, from here, you can now decide to choose if you want it to be public or private. So these are the two options when you are creating it in your Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So I can choose either I want it to be public or I want it to be private. So let me choose public, and then click on next, and then you click on create group. If after creation and I feel that no, this group should be private, then I have the option of going back to the settings. So I can go back to the settings, just go back. I click on it, and then just go back to the settings. I have the option to change it back to private or public, and then you save, and that is that. Well, in the other hand, if I go to my Microsoft Entra ID, which is your identity. So if you click on this here, if I create the group here, which is here, if you come here, click on groups, click on all groups, and then you say new groups. Here, if I click on Microsoft 365 group here, and then give it a name, let me just say NDGT 01. Then here, just leave this here, membership type. I'll just leave it on assign, and then click on create. Then refresh. So if you go back here and then you look for that same group, if I feel that, oh, I need to change this back to you can see during the creation of this group, there's no option to choose either public or private. So, but by default, it's going to create a private group for you. So, if I feel that I want to change it to public, I don't have the option to do that here. There's no option to change it in your Microsoft Entra ID. There's no option to do that. So that's sort the two difference where when if you create a Trixify group in Entra ID and in the admin. So if I go back to here, my admin center, and if I come back here, refresh, I'm going to see that group, and I can have the option to, yeah, this is the group. I can have the option to change it. Go to settings. So you can see by default, that group is in private. This is by default. So I can change it to public if I want to. But whereas here, I don't have that option to do that if I decide to, yeah, change it. Yeah. So that's all. Yeah, that's all. That's all how. Yeah. Thank you.
Very good, Stephen. Thanks for sharing that.
Hey, mind if I show something myself here?
Yeah,
Dan?
go ahead, lads.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of people have seen this in Outlook, the new Outlook, but there is a groups function within the new Outlook that is really helpful when you're trying to do adoption to people in you're trying to adopt them using Microsoft 365 groups. Let's see. Share screen. Sure which. Let's see. See if you guys can see that. Can you guys see it yet or no? No?
Yeah.
You can? Okay. All right. We'll see. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
So in the new Outlook, you have, your mail, contact, calendar, people, and groups. Groups is a new feature. You have to kind of enable it in your tenant if you haven't. Microsoft tries to enable it for you, but there's a couple steps you go through it. I'm sorry, I didn't really prepare for doing this, but I just wanted to show this. So if you got users of groups that own their groups, you can actually they can filter by what they're owned of and they're a member of. And in this particular group setting, they have access to their group mailbox. They also have access to the SharePoint site. If there's any files in the SharePoint site, they also have the team calendar available to them. They can add events and do new events, and they can actually view the membership list. If you are the owner of the box, you can actually go in and edit the group. You can add, remove members, invite others, and you can actually go to the settings of the group and then do edit group. And here you can go in here and you can set whether you want the group to be you can set the name of it. You can set whether you want it to be public or private. You can change it there too. So if you got a group that came out and you don't have time to change it for the user of the group, they can go in. You can have the owner of the group go in and go to the edit group settings and change the privacy here and change it to private and back to public if they need to. But they can do everything that they used to be able to do in some of the web pages. They've actually added it to Outlook now, and they can actually delete the group. You can discard any changes, and you can do your membership here as well if you want to add people, remove people. It's pretty neat. You got access to OneNote from here. You also got access to Planner and the actual SharePoint page if you got a SharePoint site. So it really helped when I was trying to get people in a large organization that were trying to switch over from distribution groups using DLs. They're like, I want create me a new DL, please. Create me this DL with these people. I'm like, no, you can go here in Outlook. Let's just download the new Outlook. And the thing about the new Outlook, unless you have specific settings in your policies, most people go to the Microsoft Store and they can just download this version from the Microsoft Store. It's very easy to download and install. It will transfer all your settings from the existing Outlook, whatever version you have. In Office 365, it'll switch it over to this, and it will connect all your accounts. And so you can also do new group, name your group. You can set public or private, however you want to here. then add your people, and you can do it just like that. You can actually have your people create their own groups if they need them. We used to have restrictions on that, so there's a setting that you can set to make a specific group of users be able to create M365 groups. But this stops people from creating SharePoint sites. It stops people from creating some teams, and also from being able to do some other things. So it's important to read through that documentation when you're doing that. So, but yeah, I think this is. You can also change the settings. You know how people in the groups, if you got teams or you got group distribution groups, like, well, we want all our people to get their emails in their inbox. And that's another thing I used to teach is to have people look in their mail and then look in their groups setting as far as here, if they want to look at new emails, they could go in their groups in their Outlook and go into groups and find the emails that they were looking for. Like, I didn't find the group email. I was like, well, it's easier to go here now and go to your group, and then you can see everything because you can see the email. If you got calendar events, whatever you want, you can change your setting. You can also, if you go to the actual settings for the entire group, you're an owner, you can uh, tell everybody if you want people outside the organization to email the group, or if you want everyone to receive their emails in their inbox or not. So
Lance, Lance, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can you click on the files tab for me, please? I don't know if you've got anything in there if it's empty.
Sure.
So is this the files that have just been emailed? Oh, it's taking you to share.
Yeah, it takes you to SharePoint. Yeah.
So, but you've got the SharePoint tab at the top as well.
Yeah, and it'll open the actual
Taking you to
SharePoint
the
page.
document.
So if you have if you actually have a group site, like a communication site with stuff you post, that SharePoint will take you to the actual SharePoint homepage. Yeah.
Because this is available, I think, in the old Outlook as well, isn't it? Because I teach this in my
Outlook. Not to this extent.
Oh, it's more sophisticated in the new version, yeah?
Yeah. They had the group stuff, but they didn't have all these links and all this availability at the OneNote seems to be a real nice feature too. People like as well. It's like having everything except the teams. It's having everything except the teams. So if people aren't adopting Teams yet, or you're still on Skype, if you're at a client that still has Skype, or there's slow adoption of Teams, you can go into Outlook and use this Outlook, kind of roll this out and say, look, this is the new Outlook. These are the way we're going to be doing groups now. We're no more distribution lists. We're going to call these groups. You have with these new groups, you get a calendar, you get a files repository, you get an email box with it, and everybody can see everything, find everybody, and collaborate here. And then when they say, well, we'd like to do like meetings and chat and stuff like that, like, well, this links to a team. We can create a team for this group. And then you have teams, and then you roll teams out to them. So it's kind of like you kind of get the champions to kind of, or your heavy email users. A lot of the upper C-suite, the management that use Outlook heavily love this feature. They love like, now I can start talking to my people, and then we can start like connect our meetings with Teams, and they just start like, wait a minute, it's all connected together. And like, yeah, they'll put a file in Teams, in a Teams meeting, and it'll show up in this files folder. So and you can sync this with your File Explorer in Windows. Add a shortcut to OneDrive, do quick access. It's all there. It's all integrated. And if you have SharePoint Premium, you can even go further by setting your labeling and your privacy settings and folder permissions. You can set your folder permissions on these repositories. If you have separate repositories, it's more difficult to do. You have to do that in Teams if you start to have separate repositories. But this will be for the specific group, which is really neat. So it's I found it because I was getting a lot of questions about, hey, how we get people to integrate Teams or champion Teams, and I come from an Exchange background, Outlook. So everybody used Outlook for all these years. Everybody used Outlook for everything, and so they're kind of, I think Microsoft finally broke down again. So okay, we're going to give you pretty much all the ability in Outlook still. and then if you want to do a chat or a meeting or something, you still have to use Teams. But this will give you another way because people are used to Outlook. So it's just it's kind of that fight everybody's always had. So, yeah.
Do you think people? So I can ask a question. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Do you think people are slowly sending less emails or not?
It depends on the organization.
In general,
In general, no. Everybody still loves to use DLs. Everybody still loves to use distribution groups. Now, the biggest thing I find, and it depends on the industry, but in the healthcare industry, everybody still uses email, and they're starting to try to use SharePoint because there's more compliance issues and more security that needs to be done because of health information and
yes.
all that type. So again, the integration of SharePoint Premium and being able to collaborate and everything being protected is starting to work better. But people still love to send their stuff to everybody. And while you're transitioning to Teams in a more of a bigger sense and getting people used to doing chatting and collaborating that way, it helps if they're able to use email, because then they say, wait a minute, I got this. If I can get this email box, I can go over here to this events and I can make a calendar and then we can talk about it and everybody will see it. And then you can say, if your group's complaining about getting too many emails from you in their inbox, they tell them, well, just go to the groups in their email, go to the groups folder, and they can see the emails, whatever emails you send to that group in there. And they can see the emails here. And then, you can do all your management and everything from there as well. So people have the options depending on how they're used to using Outlook. And if you've worked with a lot of people with Outlook over the years, it helps make the transition easier, in my opinion. Because there's just they're trying all these different ways to get people to really make it more SharePoint centric and which includes Teams. We have the Microsoft Substrate, which is the back end, which has everything. So we got all the Power Apps and everything, and even in the groups, which I've had some issues myself with doing, but you can have connectors. I've had some issues getting this to work yet. It's still kind of in, I think, the testing. But you can have your own special apps if you have connectors to different things. Like, so you can have a Power BI connector or Power Apps connector if you got a process. So say you have an onboarding group, and you can have like a process in here for planner tasks that say, we're onboarding this person through these days. Here's where they're at. And then you have Power Automate tasks. When they click on their form or do what they need to do, it checks it off and it goes to the next thing and lets everybody know. The thing, just really things like that. And you can actually, in these email boxes, they are shared mailboxes in their group mailboxes, just like the Microsoft 365 group mailboxes. They're 50 gigs. If you enable the group settings in the organization settings to allow users to create subfolders and delete folders, then they create subfolders under the email and have subfolders so they can organize the group mailbox, just like a shared mailbox. So again, if you've got a shared mailbox for a team and they want to kind of expand it from just a shared mailbox and do more team stuff with it, you could change it over to a M365 group, give them the access to be able to create subfolders and kind of move their email over there, and you still get the 50 gigs without a license. Same as a shared mailbox. So it's a good way to kind of get people used to going to group collaboration. Then they'll start using Teams, and they'll be like, oh yeah, we just kind of do the same thing here. I do it in Outlook, but now we can do it in Teams. So anyway, that's what I had to say. I just thought I always try to. That's a kind of a new thing I kind of stumbled upon. It's pretty neat, and I'm really liking the new Outlook. Well, the features that are coming out.
Excellent demo.
That was great. I think there was a lot to learn.
Thank you, Oscar.
So, is there anyone using the new Teams? How have you been? How does it look from your end?
It's been pretty good.
The new Outlook for me sucks.
Yeah, new Outlook I'm not a fan of.
It's And it's the first time that Microsoft have apparently upgraded a product, and I've actually hated it. But the new Teams, I think maybe Dan, you'd agree, most of the stuff with the new Teams is under the hood, and it's just so much faster, and so much more reliable than the old Teams.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I couldn't believe I clicked a button and it came up with the window straight away, whereas the old Teams would be like, I'm getting there. The new
Right.
Team, it's immediate. It's extraordinarily fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's an example of that.
Yeah.
That camera not being locked. I've got it open in Teams. I have it open in OBS. I have the camera open in Zoom, and I have it open in PowerPoint on a Mac.
Wow.
So that was one little thing that kind of hooked me on. Well, I think I need another computer. I don't think it needs to be another Windows computer. I still love Windows, but the Teams, whether it's on Mac or Windows, I would totally agree. The new Teams client is much faster, much more responsive. I can do things like switch tenants while I'm in a meeting. So if I want to switch over to my Microsoft tenant, I can do that, and it doesn't kick me out of the meeting as part of it.
Yeah.
A quick thing. One thing I forgot to mention. I wanted to mention about the new Outlook. It is the same as the Outlook for the web app. So if you're where you're working is kind of against rolling out a new client, you can have them just use the Outlook on the web, even if no matter what platform they're on. You can Outlook on the web, they can go to the groups icon and get used to doing the groups. So
I think with my group is using stuff like mail merge, conditional formatting, categories, and filters, and those haven't come across properly yet.
Yeah,
So the main Outlook is there, but it's the things that I look after executive assistants, and they use these tools to increase their productivity. And I'm sure that the new Outlook is wonderful, but it's not got the same features as the old Outlook.
It's getting there. They're coming out with them on the roadmap like really quickly.
Is the roadmap public or not?
It should be. It should be on. I think it's on the roadmap site if I remember correct.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know there was a roadmap. Sorry, I'm very new to Microsoft in terms of.
Yeah, there's a actual roadmap site that for all the products, and you can see what months everything's coming out.
Okay, I'm going to try and find that site.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got the public page open. So Paul, there's also an admin page and roadmap, but this would be the public from the product perspective.
Okay, so
that's where I get a lot of my LinkedIn stuff to post. I'm like, they're coming out with this. They're coming out with this.
Are any of you here using pictures much in ChatGPT?
I've played around with it a little bit.
I had a post last year that got 500,000 views.
Wow.
Do you want me to show you the picture?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So it's present, share screen, entire screen, I think it's going to be, isn't it? Share.
Yeah.
If I go to, and I was shocked because most.
Do you want to bring that up, or do you want me to?
Yeah.
There, thank you.
There we go.
Perfect.
So let's go to notifications. Where's my notifications? There we are. So let's go here. So this is showing the low priority message in Outlook. And this was only a couple of days ago, but this has got 3,000 impressions.
Wow.
Not because of the post, but because of the picture of the light blue arrow. And it's something Christina and I are working on, is producing Microsoft tips with the right image to get more people engaged with it. So let me show you the image that we produced. And we were shocked. There's the image.
Wow.
Wow.
Now this image is beautiful, but it took an hour to produce it. But if you look at the numbers, nearly 5,000 reactions, 200,000 impressions, 500 comments, and 307 people reposted it. Not because of the post, but because of the picture.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Christina and I are doing a lot of work on
Pictures for
trying.
1,000 likes.
Yeah, but we posted it in other groups as well, and people started not borrowing the image to use in their post as well, which is a really nice way of saying we love it so much we're going to steal it.
Right.
So yeah, Christina and I are working on showing a Microsoft tip, but finding the image that makes people want to share it as well. Because a Microsoft tip, even if it's brilliant, we find it doesn't work unless it's got a visual with it.
Yeah, I would agree.
We're learning that, but ChatGPT for images is extraordinary. How much more traffic I've got in the last year.
That's awesome. Joseph, welcome. We have all sorts of guests.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Emails.
I joined in late. I'm sorry, I got the link late a bit.
No, thank you for joining.
Yeah.
This is our monthly show. So we have the weekly Azure and AI show, Frank. That's on Saturday now, Saturdays.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then at
So I'm
least
waiting
2
to.
days away from this, as opposed to
I should be back once the time zone shifts. I will
yes.
be joining the Saturdays because it's actually the same time with my training. But
Okay.
once the time zone changes, then I would have like that 1 hour
Nice.
before mine. Yeah. So I'll be fully back by then. That should be
Cool.
31st of March. The
So
time
Yeah,
zone
Paul,
should change.
we switch this weekend in the United States, our clocks,
Oh.
and then you switch at the end of the month, right?
Yes, on the 31st, if I'm correct. That should be
Got
the
it.
day.
Yep.
so
Is that
Dan, can you see my screen there?
Yeah.
Yes. So Paul, this is one I made last night in Microsoft Designer. See that
Oh,
picture?
wow.
Awesome.
That's
Wow.
just it. It's a thumbnail for a YouTube video I made last night.
Oh,
just
how long
asked-
did it take you?
Hmm.
How long did it take you?
2 minutes.
Wow.
Microsoft.com, right, Frank?
the designer?
Yeah, Designer.
Yeah.
1 second, I just open it.
The Copilot. I'm just getting it now. The Copilot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So-
this is a good idea. I'll probably be making my thumbnails with this.
Oh yeah. It seems like it's ready for prime time for thumbnails or for landscape, kind of uses.
Oh, they're doing the videos now.
I saw the video that Sora. Is that what
Yeah.
you're talking about? Yeah.
I can't remember what the name of it is, but I'm
Sora,
assuming
the OpenAI service
I'm
for
assuming-
video.
it's going to be a little bit. From what I've seen, it looks pretty good. Wow. Yeah, Designer. Yeah. Designer keeps on booting me out of my business account and wants me to use the personal account.
Yeah, I don't think they've fully launched it for business yet. Clipchamp, I believe, has been integrated, but Designer, to my knowledge, is still the personal side of Microsoft 365 right now.
Yeah.
And it saves your personal OneDrive the images, which is nice because then you have the ability to get back to the old ones. Like Frank said, this might have only taken 2 minutes, but what if you want to use it and just change one aspect of it or add to it? Or very cool, Frank.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Did you add all the stuff in the background then? Are those all like objects like the YouTube and the...
Yeah, so I just put in the prompt make me a thumbnail for a YouTube video of Microsoft Copilot. He just gave me all this,
That's awesome.
you know.
So did you try something? There's something I tried when it was released. I used the same prompt multiple times. So I just keep trying the same prompt, seeing all the possible images I could get.
These are some of the ones I made up, some of my previous ones.
Okay. But we did the same prompt you are using. Did you try to repeat the same prompt?
No, I didn't try that.
Okay.
So this one here, I designed for a blog post that I had. Let me see, do I have it here? So yeah, so this one, hybrid cloud management with Azure Arc. So there's kind of Azure, and there's all the stuff all around it, like so.
Great.
I just gave it the prompt, make me a picture for hybrid cloud management with Arc, and this is what I came up with. So it's cool. Cool stuff that it can do, Designer. So
that's really, really cool.
yeah, some of the stuff Designer is really kind of moved on from what it was about a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody have big plans for International Women's Day tomorrow?
That was on Friday.
Yep, Friday.
I'm going to do what I normally do and get them to avoid me. That's what I'm planning to do.
Yeah.
I know
So
I just did a I Am Remarkable workshop with Women in Teams, which is a group that my boss and Lori Popmeyer and Joy Apple put together. There's several people that have been involved in Women in Teams. And I presented about I Am Remarkable, which is originally a Google initiative, which is now a NGO, a non-governmental organization called Remarkably, without all the vowels. And it's about self-promotion and sharing achievements. And we condensed what's normally a 90-minute session into 60 minutes, but ran that on, I guess it was Wednesday of this week for Women in Teams. And we had about 17 to 18 participants.
Okay, so then we're kind of just gone over the hour, I think.
Yeah. I think we started 2 or 3 minutes late. We're ending, it looks like 4 after the hour.
Okay.
So thanks everybody for attending. Paul, great demos. Frank?
If anyone is struggling with morphing, I'm happy to do a session and we can maybe work on a presentation together, because most of the stuff in morphing is the thinking, not the actual morphing. It's like, what do I want to do? So if anyone wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, I've got the time to help anybody out. I've got no problems with that at all.
Sure.
Awesome.
That's great. Paul, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. And
Thanks all.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
back again same time next month.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.